think I finally figured out how to help people create self-care plans that don't feel like you're just adding stuff to your to-do list that's not going to positively impact your life. So I think the first thing to throw in the garbage is the belief that self-care is a list of activities. Something you can Google and say, what is self-care? And then you get the list of, take a bubble bath, read a book, all this kind of stuff. And you can do those things and suddenly you're going to feel better just because you did those things. What I like to do is compare self-care to car maintenance. So when you buy a car, the purpose of the car is to get you from point A to point B, right? But you know that if you don't do the basic maintenance on that car, it's not going to last you. And if you really want that car to take you far, and if you really want to have a good experience with it, you actually read the maintenance manual and you do all the recommended maintenance. But that maintenance manual is based on how that particular car was designed. So when we're looking at self-care for humans, it's very similar. We're here to be in service, to be in community, right? And a lot of us who understand that somehow fail to realize that we cannot be of service optimally unless we create our own maintenance manual. So what do I mean by that? We need similar things to a car. We need to be fueled in order to go anywhere, right? We need to eat. But just like a car, so say you get a Mercedes-Benz and it requires premium fuel and you decide you're going to put regular fuel in it. You cannot expect to get a luxury experience in that car if you continue that practice. So when it comes to humans, your body needs certain nutrients. I don't believe it's a one size fits all, but whatever you're fueling yourself with has to be appropriate for how you are built. If you're putting the wrong stuff in, you're not going to go very far, and over time you're going to deteriorate your own performance, right? And so the reason why this is important is because if you are negatively impacting your performance with how you're fueling yourself, then you cannot show up as your best version for others. You cannot be in community optimally. And then you have, that's like the basic, for the car to go, you got to put gas in it. For you to go, you got to eat something. And the better you eat, the better you perform. But then there's things like the recommended maintenance, right? The 20,000 mile flush or whatever it is. You can tell I'm really well versed on car maintenance. But there are other things that if you read that maintenance manual, they give you a ton of things that you should do to get that car to perform like new for as long as possible. So again, the way this translates to self-care is the better you care for yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, the more of a luxury experience you can create for the people that you are in community with. And the less you focus on properly maintaining yourself, the more you're going to run into breakdowns. The more you're going to run into performance issues, the more repairs you're going to have to do, and the less service you're going to be able to provide to others as an employee, as a parent, as a friend, as a relationship partner. And so not doing your maintenance, not eating properly, not paying attention to your emotional health, not paying attention to your mental health, you're doing a disservice to your community. And we are designed to be in community. So how do you create your personal maintenance manual? How do you know what kind of fuel you need? How do you know, how to keep yourself up emotionally and mentally and physically? That requires lots of introspection. It requires paying attention to self. And, the older you get, the wiser you get, the more experiences you have, the more you understand. But it should be a goal to understand yourself well enough to create a maintenance plan, a self-care plan that allows you to function optimally. And it requires focusing not just on the needs of others, not just on your service to others, but focusing on yourself. So for a lot of people who are passionate about service, this can feel extremely selfish. But selfish means me, but not you. Self-care is more of a me, then you. It's like an order of operations. And so the only way that you can be of service, that you can show up in this world as the best version of yourself, is to focus on you first, and how you can build yourself up, build your skills, build your talents, build your resiliency, build your emotional intelligence to create a luxury experience for those who are in your life. Now, this goes both ways. Back in the day, when I didn't understand myself at all, when I didn't focus on self-care, caring for myself, I would get offended by people who had this mindset, people who had good boundaries, people who made it a priority to take care of themselves, because I did feel that it was selfish, and that was only because I lacked boundaries. So a lot of us who are on this self-care journey, who are on this healing journey, can sometimes be triggered by people who have high standards when it comes to their self-care. So next time you see somebody advocating for themselves in any way, you know, looking around them and saying, this is what I'll tolerate, and this is what I won't, this is what I require, and this is, you know, what I'll move away from. If it triggers you, it probably means that you have some work to do in the area of self-care. Because once you start down this journey, you understand that those people are providing top-tier experiences for those around them. And you also see that those who identify as like people pleasers, you know, victims, that type of thing, can't possibly be providing a good experience for those around them, because they're running themselves ragged. And, you know, just like a car, let's say you take your car off the lot and the gas tank is full. You're going to be able to run with that for a while, but eventually you're going to have to stop and put gas in there. And so, you know, a lot of people are running on the initial tank of gas that they got at the gas station. Like they don't stop to take care of themselves, and eventually that car will break down and those passengers will be on their own. So if you are one that says always others first and then me, your car is going to be a mess. You know, the passengers are not going to have anywhere to sit because you've got junk everywhere because you never stopped to clean your car. You're going to be on the side of the road because you haven't performed proper maintenance. Eventually, even if you can initially provide what you think is a top tier experience because you're being self-sacrificing, is going to turn into a huge inconvenience for those that you have devoted yourself to being in service to. So self-care is not just this thing even to help you feel better. Self-care is the thing that is required for you to show up as your best self for the people that you love, for the people that you want to be in service to. And it requires that you look deep within, that you're very honest with yourself about what makes you tick, about what makes you happy, about what makes you function optimally. And it requires that you take some time to focus on yourself long enough to understand what those things are, and focus on yourself long enough to get that maintenance done. And yes, it's inconvenient. Like when you have a car and it's time for that oil change, you're like, dang, man, I gotta, you know, figure out when I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have to spend time on the weekend or take time off from work to go get this oil change. But you know that if you don't do it, you're gonna end up on the side of the road eventually. So when you come up with your maintenance manual, when you've taken the time to go deep within and say, this is what's required for me to function optimally. This is what's required for me to wake up happy in the morning. This is what's required for me to thrive in my relationships. When you do that, sometimes it's going to feel like a burden. Sometimes it's going to feel like a burden when you have to have difficult conversations with people about what it is that you desire. Or when you got to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym. Now, most mornings I love it, but some days it's hard. But I know if I don't do it, that check engine light will come on much sooner. So see it as an investment. See it as an investment in you being able to create top tier experiences for the people in your life, along with top tier experiences for yourself. And it ends up being a win-win. And respect other people's boundaries and standards. You may see somebody else's standards, boundaries as ridiculous, but just honor people's ability to decide what works well for them. And then you'll have an easier time turning your focus on yourself and figuring out what works best for you.